Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Food Experience. Today's food experience, the kind folks over at BFOUR sent me their dual wireless meat thermometer set. It's a pretty cool set, has some nice features. I like the stand, the display screen, and I'll show you a quick unboxing. In this video, I'll be using the probes to assist in cooking a brisket flat that I got from Wild Fork. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get down to it, and here we go. Here's a look at the box for the BFOUR wireless meat thermometer probe set, model BF-40. Backside of the box has some information about the probe, usage, cautionary note, and company information, in addition to 2 QR codes. This is a sleeve, it just slides right off. Open the box. Inside the box, you'll find this card. It has some tips on it. On the back side, a thank you note. There's a user manual, and inside, it tells you how to set it up and how to use it with the app. There's a USB-C charge cable. Lastly is the booster. Here's a quick look at it. There are 2 temperature probes, white and black. There's a button here. There's the screen. It has the company name below it. There is some plastic you'll want to remove, or maybe not. The probes are easy to remove. There's a tab that comes right up here, and that will pop both of the probes out. Here's a look at the probes. They definitely have a nice sharp point. There's also a line right here, and you want to make sure the meat is inserted up to that line, maybe even a little more. The length of the probe is in between 4 1/4 and 4 1/2 inches. There's a designation in the booster for which probe goes where. Black on this side, white on that side. To reinsert the probe into the booster, you want to stick the pointed end in first and push down just like that, and they will lock into place. On the back side towards the bottom, there is a stand that flips out. I don't believe this one features any magnets. A lot of them have magnets where it'll stick onto whatever metal of your barbecue. Not sure, but I know I could take this and put it right on top of the hopper just like that. Should work out fine. To turn on the booster, hold the power button and it'll display BFOUR. Please download the app, and it shows you the black and white probe. It also tells you the remaining time to charge each probe, and it also has a battery meter here, and I think that's the battery for the booster. I'll get everything all charged up before I use it. If I remove the white probe, it's showing the temperature in Celsius. I'll figure out how to switch it to Fahrenheit. When you put the probe back in, it goes back to charging mode. To turn off the booster, press and hold the power button. When you lift up the stand, the USB port is right on the side. This time I'm going with the Wild Fork brisket flat. I have the BFOUR temperature probe set. Here's what I'm looking at, and it's a pretty decent sized brisket flat. I'm not going to really trim too much on the top, but there is some stuff that's hanging off that doesn't look good. But otherwise it looks pretty decent. None of this is really hard fat, it's all soft. I might trim some of this end piece here. It's really thin. Also a little bit on this side. Let's take a look at the back side. Yeah, they went a little extra on trimming the fat here. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to trim any more. I think it's fine. It has roughly 1/4 inch going around. A little less in some spots. So yeah, I'm not going to mess with it. Going in with a mustard binder. You're welcome to use whatever binder you want, or don't use a binder at all. It's one of those different strokes for different folks type of things. First, starting off with Killer Hog's brisket rub. And this has a lot of coarse black pepper, salt, maybe 1 or 2 other things, but that looks pretty good. Following that up with Holy Cow by Meat Church. And something to note, it looks like the grain on this one is going this way, which means I'm going to have to cut it this way. Going in with the mustard binder, killer hogs. And with a brisket, you could go in heavy. This is a big, thick cut of meat, folks. And holy cow. That right there is looking excellent. This end is a bit thicker. It tapers down this way. So I will put one of them right around this side. And the other one I'm going to put at this end. The black probe is reading 44 degrees and the white probe 45, and that's pretty dang close to what it should be. Next on my tablet, firing up the BF Home. One's reading a 44.7 and the other one 45.5. They don't really have a setting for brisket, although if you hit the arrow here, you could adjust the temperature. You can't hold it down though. They should have made it so you could hold it down. You got to keep on tapping. And I always give you honest reviews, folks, so that's my first bit of feedback. They should update the app so you could just hold down the plus or minus button. I'll set them for 210. And even though I'm not cooking to 210, that's where I want to set the destination temperature. And then press set. And it'll go through these warning screens. I'll do the same on the second one off camera. And there's the reading for each probe. Let's get out to the Pit Boss. The Pit Boss has already started up and it's been holding at 200 degrees. I'm putting the thicker end over the burn pot and the thinner end on this side. Close her up and let her go. The brisket's been going about 5 hours. Here's the different probe readings I'm getting. And the 163 is closer to over the burn pot. So I think I will rotate it 180 degrees. One thing to mention though, I have not restarted this app. And if I click on the graph, not sure if you're going to be able to see, but it only shows it running for like an hour and 45 minutes and it's been going for 5 hours. The start of the time shows 11:51 and it's really weird. I put the brisket in at about 8:15 to 8:20. Right now it's a very cloudy day and I can see it, but it's just not the brightest. Let's take a look at the brisket. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty good. The bark has pretty much set. This has been rolling at 200 degrees the whole time. I've been checking on it and it's really been sticking out right at 200. As I mentioned, I'm going to rotate this around. I'm doing this mostly to test the thermometer, so let's close her up and I'm going to let it ride. It's been going a bit over 8 hours total, a little more than 3 hours since I turned up the temperature. One probe is reading 206, the other is 199.9, so that's the black probe. And the white probe, I mean, that looks like it's ready to pull. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, probe's like butter right there. But not as much here. And yeah, it's right around 200. But right here, yeah, buttery smooth. I'm pulling it right now. That's what I'm looking at. Now I'm gonna let that rest for about an hour. Then I'm covering the pan with foil and putting into a warming oven at 150 degrees for a couple hours. If I remember correctly, the grains go like this. Really difficult to see. But if that's the case, I'm going to try cutting this off. Oh wow, sure is tender, I'll tell you that. Got a bit of a smoke ring. Oh, it does have some moisture, that's for sure. That's what I'm looking at. Definitely got a nice smoke ring. Bark's looking pretty excellent too. Also, I want to show you the base. It still has quite a charge left to it if you see in the upper left corner. Cut off a couple slices. That ought to do it for tonight. It's almost 10 o'clock at night right now, and I'll save the rest for tomorrow, or maybe the day after or the day after. Definitely has good bend, and that's a thick slice right there. And hopefully you can see how juicy it is. I mean, it is plenty juicy. And like I said, it pulls apart like nothing. So that's about it. See you back up top. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here I am with the brisket that I just cut. Really nice, did a great job. The brisket flat was so super tender and tasty, and thankfully the BFOUR wireless meat thermometer set pulled through. Now, there are some pros, there are some cons, and I need to tell you about them. First, I'll go over the pros. I like that it is a dual probe set. The pointed end of each probe easily slides into the meat. Removing the probes from the base is easy. It has that little pull tab. The probes stay secured into the base. They won't fall out. The display screen on the base is nice and informative. I always like USB-C charge ports. During the cook or even afterwards, you could share the cooking graph. The app uses a very small percentage of the battery on my tablet. I had it running for about 12 hours and it used about 38% of the tablet's battery. The probe temps are definitely pretty accurate. I would say within 98% accuracy. And I tested it by using an instant read thermometer right at the point where I believe the tip of the probe to be. The range of the base and the probe seems to be pretty decent. As you saw, I had the base on top of the hopper on my Pit Boss, and of course the meat probes were installed in the meat in the Pit Boss, and I was monitoring it through a sliding glass door in my bedroom. So I was probably about, 60 feet away, something like that. I didn't really test it for the full long range, but it definitely seems to work pretty good, and there were no drop-offs or cut-offs or anything like that. Those were my pros. As far as the cons go, there is room for improvement. So let's go over them. I own a few different wireless meat thermometers. Each and every one of them has a magnetic back. That way I could stick it right onto one of the legs on my Pit Boss. This doesn't have that, so you have to use the stand it comes with. That may be good for some and it may not be for others. It depends on your circumstances, but it is something I wanted to point out. The display screen, it's pretty decent. I mean, you could see it from different angles. It has a decent amount of brightness to it. The letters, the font could be a little bit thicker. It's kind of hard to read outdoors, I'm gonna say right now, because outdoors, when I was operating it, it was a fairly cloudy day. I could imagine in bright sunlight, it might be very difficult to read this. So if they can make that font a little bigger and the brightness a little stronger, I think that would be a plus. In the app, you saw when I was adjusting the temperature, I had to keep pressing the plus. I don't think you should have to do that. They should make it so you start pressing the plus and it increments and then it starts going faster and you can release whenever you want and make further adjustments. That's how it should be. The probes do not feature an ambient temperature readout or alarm setting. To me, that's very important. Number one, I like to monitor the inside of the pit. I like to know what temperature it's really running at. Now, the Pit Boss does have that on the display on the controller. However, if I don't want to sit out there by the Pit Boss and I want to sit inside and monitor it from time to time, I should be able to easily look at the app or even the base and be able to tell what temperature the pit is running at. An ambient temperature alert and alarm is also important because I do a lot of overnight cooking in the Pit Boss, and if something goes haywire in the middle of the night, I want to know about it. Like for instance, if something goes wrong and the temperature goes way out of range, say I'm cooking at like 200 degrees and all of a sudden it gets up to 300, there's obviously a problem. And I should be able to set an alert and their app should notify me, beep, 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 that I'm out of range. Or, for instance, if somehow I lose power or there's a jam in the auger and somehow I lose temperature, I need to know about it, and also I would like to be alerted of it. So hopefully they can make that improvement in the future. The cooking graph feature is nice. I'm glad you could share it. However, it only supplies up to 2 hours of cooking time. After that, it kind of recycles the information and it starts a new time. So you lose all the previous stuff. So whenever I look at the graph, it's always like that instead of like, you know what I mean? It should supply the whole cooking graph when you want to share it or even look at it in the app. Lastly, they should have a meter for both probes, both on the base and within the app, to show the percentage of battery remaining, both by a little graph of dots and by a percentage number. I think that's very important. So really that's about it. Those are my pros, those are my cons. That's my take on the BFOUR wireless meat thermometer set. Now, do I recommend it? Okay, so as long as you don't have a problem with any of the cons that I mentioned, this set works great. It really does. It did everything that it was supposed to do. However, I am very nitpicky when it comes to wireless meat thermometers. So you guys need to make the choice. Look in my description. I will have a link to where you can purchase the product off of Amazon. And again, a big thanks to BFOUR for letting me test out this set. And I think that's about it, folks. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, drop me a line below. I love hearing from you. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave. I got all kinds of good things coming up. And until next time, have a stellar day. Be excellent. And most of all, remember me. I'm KJ Andy O, your food experience host with the most. Y'all take care, and I'll see you next time.